like a bird in the sky. The legend of the electric scooter guy.
Gear up, Scooter fam. Today we're gonna take a look at some footage and chit chat along the way about a few things. First of all, I almost lost my phone on my Apollo Go during this ride right here. It's why I started kind of where I started at. So it's been pretty rainy. As you can tell, some of the tree limbs and so forth have fallen. It's super nasty out in a sense. Still a lot of water buildup, so forth. Real mushy in the grass and whatnot. Anyway, so yeah, that's going to come into play a little bit in a bit. So I think I said in my last video that I was trying to switch the brakes out back to the old brake levers on my Klima temporarily while I was trying to figure out a solution. And unfortunately, as it turns out, for whatever reason, the brake kit that I got from Fluid Freeride, I cannot find an adapter that will fit in those brakes. I'm not sure what the problem is, but no adapter that I have in my brake bleed kit will correctly match up with the brake levers that I originally got on the Klima. So none of the adapters that came with my hydraulic brake bleeding kit actually match up to the old to the levers that originally came on the Klima. Now on the new ones, I didn't have a problem. I've got a bleed adapter that goes into the bleed hole that screws in, has the right threading, everything. But this one is just a little bit different on the inside, and you got to go pretty deep to even reach the thread. And I just don't have any adapters that will that are the correct size and length to stop that. So I tried getting, just kind of holding it there, but without that tight seal, I'm not getting the pressure that I need out of it. So that was a big failure. Not going to happen. Those brakes suck anyway. They've got the glue on them, although they were working. As far as that goes, I tested them out, but I couldn't get any pressure built up in the line because it wouldn't seal properly. So couldn't use that option. And so I've got to ride the Apollo Go until I get that fixed. That caused me to almost lose my phone in a sense. So I've been riding around on the Go using the quad lock feature. I got a case that's made. I didn't just stick the quad lock thing on the back of my case that I already had. I didn't want to take a chance of losing my phone. So I went ahead and bought a case that was made for my phone that had a quad lock built into the back of the case itself so that it couldn't separate from the case. And, not too big of a deal. And as you'll see coming up here pretty soon, there's a bit of mud and so forth from the rain. And so that, like I said, that comes into play a bit. But on the way, I'm coming back from Walmart now on my trip. And on the way to Walmart, I hit this patch of kind of muddy area. And I just tried to, lay off the accelerator, hold my, to kind of tighten up my grip and keep the wheels really stable, kind of tighten up my joints and so forth so that I'm not, maneuvering the scooter while I'm going over this mud. But the mud was way too deep, way too slick, and I almost had a little slippage. I have slippage, but I almost almost slipped out from under me, and I had to actually go and kind of veer off into the grass because I was a little concerned I might fall because I lost my grip on the lost traction. So you'll see some tracks and so forth trying, but it's really deeper than I thought it might be. And even with me trying to be as stiff as I could through that, it was just too slippery and too deep. And like I said, I almost slipped all the way down. So I went off to the grass, no big deal. On the way back, I know I can't take that chance. Like I can't just go running through there. This is one spot. Um, and I don't believe this is the spot. I think it maybe was right in here. See, I'm not the only one that's done that, but this is so I get out. I'm getting off and I'm walking through because, like I said, this stuff is really thick and deep and just can't stay upright very easily on the scooter. And so I'm coming back through here, and this is the part where I lose my phone. I don't realize, so I just try to go off in the grass, and of course it's my tire just sinks, as you can tell. And right then, I lost my phone. I didn't know it. I even ran over it. So, you guys watch, real close again. When I come up, I kind of veer off to the left, thinking, oh, maybe I can make it through on the grass, but the tire just sinks. Boom. And I guess I bumped it, and I didn't notice it, and I actually run right over it, walk, with the scooter. I'm not riding, I'm just walking, of course. But I literally ran right over it. I did not notice it. And then I go on my way. And I'll follow this video more. But I was going to Taco Bell from Walmart on the way home, stop by Taco Bell, get some Taco Bell. And that wasn't too bad. On the way back from when I got to Taco Bell, I get off the scooter and I put my stuff down and I'm looking for my phone. And because that's where I got the order, I had to look at the phone to see what I'm gonna get. I have everything kind of on there, but I didn't have my phone. And I looked, I was like, I know I put it on the holder, and it's got the quad lock, so I didn't think it could come off. But I bumped it without realizing it, which I mean is easy to do. I'm always leaning forward and everything, so I didn't even know I hit it. And then like I said, I didn't know where I lost it at. Obviously, I walked right over it, and so I wasn't sure. I was like, I feel like I put it on there, but maybe I left it out by the bike racks. Maybe I didn't pick it up when I got up. Maybe I left it inside. I set it down somewhere and I don't recall. All those things were like, I was like, what's going on? And so I turn around. I'll cut my footage cuts off when I go in here, but I'll pick it back up again. But I went and I started heading back to Walmart and thinking that I might have left it there. And then on the way, I glanced down to see my phone in the grass that I had just dropped when I went off the pavement. Luckily, it was on the grass. There was no damage to the phone at all. And even though I ran over it, it wasn't even like muddy or anything. It was in great, perfect condition. So no harm, no foul. But this whole time, I do not have my phone. I'm riding, and I had no idea that I didn't have it until I pull in here and realize that it's gone. So I'll pick back up again. Now I think, if I remember correct, I don't think I didn't film coming back from getting my phone. So next thing you know, like you see my phone on. Well, no, I don't put. No, you wouldn't see that because I'm not putting my phone back on the on the quad lock. So I did get my phone, and this footage picks up with me going back with Taco Bell. So we'll pick up. Like I said, I just wanted to show you guys that real quick, the footage from me losing my phone and running over it. Like I said, I didn't get the footage going back and picking it up. All I did was jump back on, ran back. I was in a hurry and just ran back. I didn't get any footage, but I did go back and find it in the grass where I had just dropped it and ran over it. And I didn't even have time to look at my video. I could have tried to look at my video, see where I dropped it, and I would have known. But instinctively, I just started heading right back to Walmart without even taking too much time. I figured time was of the essence, and so I immediately started heading back to Walmart in case it was still in the parking lot or I left it inside before someone took off with it. So luckily, it wasn't as far as I thought it was going to be. It was a much shorter trip, and it probably didn't have maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most on on the ground there before I got back. So I doubt anyone even came by while I was there. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that and kind of let you guys know I'm not going to be using the quad lock anymore on the go because I don't believe it's a secure place to keep your phone. I kind of liked having somewhere to put it and kind of get on and off and just not have to worry about where I'm gonna put my phone away, so forth. So I kind of liked having it on there, but the truth is, it's pretty easy to knock off. So I won't be using that anymore. I had no idea that could happen so easily, or I wouldn't have taken that chance. So it's okay. I have my tire pressure monitor. I wasn't using a tire pressure monitor because it doesn't really fit with the phone on there. There's nowhere a lot of room to put it on the go. So I put it back on since I'm not going to be using the quad lock anymore. Not here in this video, but I have since then. It'll show up on some other videos. But yeah, I was going to talk about that. In any case, I did get a hold of Michael Shaw, who's going to help me out, give me some replacement brakes for the Klima, and he's giving me a pretty good deal, including shipping, paying about $50 a piece, or he's $100 for a set of brakes, which is what I would pay. I would have paid Fluid if they had them in stock, very close to what I would pay for them. So I don't have a problem with paying $100 for a set of brakes, including shipping, and I'm just waiting for him to ship them out. So as soon as they get here, I'll get my brakes, get them updated. Hopefully they're the right kind that I can bleed, because I will need to bleed them. If not, I'm gonna have to ask Michael Shaw what exact adapter I need to be able to use that, so I can look it up. In any case, I should be able to get that situation solved once I get those. I'll find out more. Since he knows what he would have sent me, then I'll have the information. And yeah, so I'm really appreciative of him doing that. Like I said, I was concerned about it costing quite a bit. I think I mentioned that, but not it was very fair price. So I'm pretty pleased, and I'm gonna get my brakes fixed pretty soon. So today was a fun ride, as you'll see on the go. I had a pretty fun ride. It was some interesting parts. Like I said, you'll be able to see that. So yeah, I just went to take a ride today on the go. All right, this was actually yesterday, actually, but fun day. Like I said, nice day out, as you can see. Weather was nice, probably in the high 60s, low 70s. Wind was blowing, so it felt really nice to get out and go for a ride today. So I did want to try out I've been waiting to get out and try out the bike lanes over here that I found the other day, and so that's what I was trying to do that day I went out on my Klima and broke the brakes. I had planned on going into the bike lane and having getting a feel for what that's like. I usually don't like to go in the bike lanes for a couple of reasons. One, you're kind of over there stuck on the side. You're kind of stuck. They got the grates over there. They've got all the stuff on the road gets pushed over there. Any kind of debris or something that you would want to get a flat is probably over there on the side of the road there. Also, cars will a lot of times fly past you on there without even acknowledging you're there, feeling like you're going to get pushed into the curb. And obviously, that's not ideal. And so there's that. And of course, the other issue is that, they'll turn right into you if you're passing up a spot, a turn or whatever, and they're not looking over at you. They're looking at the turn, and you're just moseying on along, and they'll just turn right into you and knock you over. And so for those reasons, I don't like to ride in the bike lanes. So when I'm on, I still prefer them over sidewalks. If unless there's a unless there's a road fast enough to drive. So a lot of roads that I ride on are residential roads, no more than 25 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour at the most. And if I jump on there with my scooter, and some of them they have a bike lane, and on those roads, I kind of leave that bike lane for bikes. Not even e-bikes, like just regular bikes, because my scooter can get up to the speed limit pretty easily, and I don't see a need for me being over in the bike lane if I can go as fast as the speed limit uh, pretty easily on my scooter. So if it's 25 miles an hour, I don't usually worry about getting in a bike lane. Yeah, like I said, I mostly ride in the street, even if there are bike lanes on some of the smaller streets, but just because I do have a scooter that can go 25 miles an hour. On these streets, though, that are big like this, I usually take the sidewalk just because, I'm not going to take a chance on jumping out on these streets on my scooter that, it's like 35 miles an hour plus, just because I'm not willing to. On the Klima, I could, but I'm not willing to go 35, 40 miles an hour on the Klima out in the middle of the road. The only place I'm even willing to take a chance like that is on like a empty parking lot with, uh, smooth riding and so forth. Eliminate any risk. And so, yeah, I don't like to jump out into the traffic on this stuff. But on my last trip on the Klima, before messing up my brakes, I noticed that they're on a major street that I use frequently. There was a bike lane. I don't know if I didn't realize there was a bike lane. These look freshly painted. Maybe they freshly painted the bike lane there, or I just never seen anyone riding in the bike lane, so I didn't realize it was a bike lane. I just thought it was a separation on the side there or something like that. But when I saw someone riding in there, I looked over there and I realized, oh, there's a bike lane on both sides of the street here, and because it's a busy street and the sidewalks aren't, like I said, I don't prefer the sidewalk, and the main reason I don't prefer the sidewalk on busy streets, if there is a bike lane, is because of kind of like what I'm going through right now. Like, I can't go everywhere on the sidewalk. There's all these little sharp turns and so forth. Sometimes I even got to step off the scooter for a second to take a tight turn, or maneuver my way around. There's very little space there. I mean, there's very little space with the bike lane too, but it's a little different. You're moving pretty fluidly, pretty good. You're staying with traffic for the most part, and so it's just a little smoother ride, I think, on the bike lane on these streets like this than it is on the sidewalks. So on the residential streets, for the most part, I like to ride 25 miles an hour. I ride in the streets when possible. On the ones that are faster, I'll use the sidewalk. But I'd be willing to try out the bike lanes here and there if I could find them. So I didn't realize this was there, and it's a path that I take quite often. And so I decided that I was going to go try these bike lanes out, get a feel for them, see if I really feel comfortable using them, and so I got to do that today on the Apollo Go, and not too bad. But we'll take a look here in a moment when it's coming up. But yeah, excited about getting my brakes. Not sure how long it'll take to get here. They're coming from China. They may slap some extra taxes on there. It's not too much money, so they may not. Usually they're only worried about larger purchases, but if they do, they do. No big deal. Can't be very much on $100, so I'm not too concerned. But if it comes up, it comes up, and it is what it is. But no, for Michael Shaw to sell them to me for $100 for the set, shipping included. I got zero problem with that. That's really appreciate that actually. Couldn't have got a deal that good otherwise. And I looked around, so I think they were decent on Wired Rides. I think they were reasonable on Wired Rides, but they were out of stock, and so I couldn't get them. I did reach out to them and ask if they had them, and they said they were out of stock. Uh, I did ask if they would let me know, or if they could give me a date estimate, but they hadn't got back to me. So I'm assuming they don't have an answer for me on that just yet. But in the meanwhile, I'm hitting up every avenue I can, and Michael Shaw came through for me. So that's awesome. Here's our bike lane. Now I didn't really like this at first. It's once again a lot of debris, loose gravel over here. That seems like a dangerous situation. You slip and like I said, either get pushed up against the curb, which you kind of try to avoid, and you might counter steer into the street or something like that. I don't really like the double level little thing they got going over here, so I just jumped on the sidewalk for a second. Uh, I wasn't planning on staying on the sidewalk, but I did want to. I didn't like that first section of bike lane. After here, it looks pretty good. I probably could have jumped off, but I was still kind of deciding. And then this guy kind of walks out in front of me. He was nice. He apologized and everything. No big deal. So then I go ahead and decide, jump back out here and get going, where it's a little bit nicer, um, not split and so forth. So I'm back out on the bike lane, and it went pretty well from this point on. So pretty happy about that. Like I said, and believe, and I felt, even though, like I said, cars will, you know, I've ridden bike lanes before. I've ridden on the side before and so forth. I will take, even if I'm going slow, I'd rather take the lane than ride on the side of the road with no bike lane. And sometimes with a bike lane, like I said, on these busy roads, cars can just whiz past you and not even care that you're there. That didn't happen to me today at all. The other day when I was on my clean, I jumped out just for a second there at the end, and a car, some cars were coming up kind of close. It wasn't a big deal though. I mean, I never felt, like they were getting too close to me, but it was in my mind. Thought this guy was going to pull out, and that's the other thing you got to worry about, and that's on the sidewalk too. But you're usually moving a little faster, which you can, which is why I like it. You can move a little faster out there in a bike lane, kind of get going pretty good. On the sidewalk, you're constantly having to worry about cracks in the sidewalk, other things, and you don't have a lot of room to maneuver. If there were no cars around me here, I could easily maneuver off to the left if I needed to. Obviously, if I'm closed in by a car, I can't. But other than that, I can jump out in the lane if I need to real quick here. And so this is my little spot here. But yeah, I liked that part right there. Like I said, probably if I did it again, I probably would jump on the sidewalk just for that short little section. Or depending how busy it was, maybe I'd just stay closer to the lane on that one, because it looked pretty safe out there. But if there were, if it was a bunch of traffic and so forth, I'd jump off onto the sidewalk. And I don't know if there's too much traffic, I may not want to ride out there. But for the time that I did, it was really nice. No one crowded me on the way back, which you'll see. I'll show you in a minute when we get that. When I leave here, it and you might have noticed on the way, there's some construction, and even the sidewalk was blocked off. So I'm kind of fortunate I decided to take the bike lane on the way back, because there was really no good way through on the sidewalk. I'm not sure how far away. We'll take a look on the way back and kind of try to judge it. But I remember looking at it when I was riding. Did I want to get off on the sidewalk and go that way, or how did I want to approach the situation when I started pulling up to it? Because I realized it was going to be a problem, and there's stuff like that. I mean, you're not. I mean, in general, there's not going to be that kind of stuff on the streets. I'm sure there can be from time to time, but most of the time, it's a lot smoother than what I'm having to deal with over here. Certainly with the mud kind of built up there, that's usually not the case on the streets. We're pulling in here, and so here we are, heading back over to the bike lane, like I said on the right. But like I said, when I'm going back, there's construction blocking the sidewalk, blocking the bike lane, and blocking the first lane on the road. So the lane comes down to a single lane, and I'm in the bike lane trying to decide where I should how I should handle it. Should I jump off onto the sidewalk and try to navigate it from there? And that looked not not the easiest thing. It almost looked like I might have had to take a detour. I don't know what else I would have done except maybe cross. I mean, it seems weird to cross back over on the side of the street that I don't really need to be on. But I just go from here and then jump on in the bike lane. Pretty nice. This is a little nice area. Now up here by the construction, it's a little sketchy, but that was I didn't realize that when I set out, but it wasn't too big of a deal to navigate through. And if I had been prepared, it wouldn't have been a big deal at all. It wasn't really too big of a deal anyway, but it just was a tad tight in here. They've got some piping laying on the road, kind of blocking the bike lane a little bit up here. So once again, I'm starting to see the road work, and it's all, like I said, it's all on the sidewalk too. And I'm looking back, like how I want to handle this. And if you look up there, like where those trucks are, it goes all the way across the sidewalk and into the yard. And there really doesn't look like there's a good place to cross. I could have cut inside that little parking lot there. Maybe there's a church there or something. Walked somehow over there, but it's completely blocked off. So I decided to jump in the lane over here, go as fast as I could, and then jump back over. Like I said, when I first got over here, I'm like, oh, this pipe stuff is laying in the bike lane, and then it's got another little deal up here blocking it. So I had to hop back out just for a second to deal with that. But that's about it. Everything else was pretty nice, pretty smooth. So it was pretty cool, and I probably will use this time to time. Like I said, the way the street is today, no one gave me grief. It's nice. Traffic's not too bad. Such a nice day for it, and so forth. There's another scooter. I tried to get a good look at that, but I didn't have places to go, people to see. So I didn't get a chance to glance. I went back and reviewed the footage, but I couldn't get an eyeball on what kind of scooter that was. Just looked like an average scooter, but it didn't look like a rental, and it didn't look like just a very basic. But I couldn't tell exactly. Could have been. I've been seeing those iNrids or whatever they are, and they've got suspension, and I looked them up. They're pretty good. It looks like for the money, I think you can get them on Walmart or something like that. Maybe Amazon as well. But yeah, this went pretty smooth. When I got up here to this part, I kind of just stayed out near the street a little bit, and since there were no cars to contend with, it wasn't a big deal at all. But back to my issue, and then the reason that I really made this video to talk about. Sorry I waited so long to get into it, but AliExpress. So I had these little nut covers on my Klima, and when I changed to my PMT tires, and I was trying to get that one tire sealed, I had to order some stuff, some tire sealant, and eventually got it sealed with a bead sealer. It was just a one bead. There were out of the whole four, one on each side of the two tires. Just that one, it was the only one I had to treat, but it worked out great, and no problems there. But when I went to go put all my caps back on the end, kind of like hubcaps or nut covers. I call them nut covers, whatever it is, nut caps, whatever you want to call them. Axle nut covers, whatever. So when I go to put them back on, I can't find one of them. I think one of my cats thought it was a toy, or they both did, and they took off with it, and I can't find it anywhere. I'm sure it's stuffed in a corner somewhere. They knocked it over into, or maybe under the refrigerator or oven, who knows. So I've spent quite a bit of time looking for it, and I was gonna go on Wired Rides and order some, but they were like two for $20, about $10 a piece, and they wanted to charge me $20 for shipping. So it cost me $40 to get two plastic covers for that. I'm like, no, that's okay. So I went to AliExpress, where I found four for $28, I think, with tax. $28, free shipping, or that was including shipping, whatever it was less than $30 in all for four, not two. And so I thought, well, $30 for two, for four, rather than $40 for two was a better, much better deal. So I went ahead and ordered those. That was quite a while ago. In fact, it's been over 30 days since I placed that order. They got my address wrong, and so they couldn't deliver it. I saw they got the address wrong. Of course, I told them the address was wrong. They recommended I reach out to the carrier, but they're not. I've done this before. If the sender puts the address wrong, they have to correct it. They're not going to take my word for it. Somebody just calling up and saying, "Hey, you need to send it to me." So I did contact them though and asked, and they told me that because they can see clearly that it was just incorrect. It was not complete. So it was easy to tell that they just left off part of the address, like the street name. So they didn't put a street name on my address. And I know this comes from China, and they don't necessarily know. But they missed a whole section of my address, and so they had they just started with the second part of my address, and then continued from there. So that was ridiculous. And so as I'm trying to get help with that situation, I went back and forth with them. They seemed very helpful at first, and then it kind of turned into they weren't going to help me. I don't think they're going to refund me my money. They're not going to ship out my stuff again. I asked them, to do either one. I'm like, just reship out the covers or the plastic or whatever you need to do, or give me my money back. Just give me my money back. Forget about it. And I've been declined multiple times. I reached out again. I was like, the address is incomplete. Just look at the address. Like, compare it to other addresses. It's not complete. But they it ended up saying something to the effect that I refused shipment, even if I did. I don't think they should just keep my money, but I didn't. The address was not complete, and so I'm sitting here having paid $30 for nothing, and they're unwilling to bend. I didn't buy them with a credit card or I had like extra coverage or something, PayPal or something, which I probably should have. But I ended up just using my bank card. And so I called my bank and I said, these guys are, trying to mess me around or whatever. What can I do? And they said that they could submit a report or whatever, or challenge it or whatever it is that they do. But that I could contest it and that file a complaint and try to get my money back, essentially. But they explain that it takes up to 90 days to get an answer back, and it's not necessarily going to go my way. So and he said most of the time when you do that, they're gonna take 90 days to reply, just because they're not trying to make it as easy as they can. And there's a time value of money. Everybody builds that in, but there definitely is a time value to money. And companies with a lot of money understand the power of that, which is why they delay giving you your money back. So, they can invest that money. They can make, a lot of money off of little extra money here and there. So they're pretty slow about getting back and waiting on those things, and that's what the bank told me. And I said, well, I'm not going to wait 90 days for $30, and it still isn't going to go my way, but I'm never using AliExpress again. I've used them before. I never had any problems. The address was, has never been, wrong or incomplete before. It was just a silly mix-up. It really should have been an easy fix. No big deal. The address was wrong. Fix the address, send them back out again. No harm, no foul. But they completely would not address it. Act like it said something like I refused the delivery, and they're not going to address it. They're not going to give me a refund. They're not going to ship them back out again. And that's the craziest thing I've ever heard, to be honest. Like I said, I've dealt with them before. I've never heard of anyone having a bad experience with AliExpress. I know a lot of people that use AliExpress. It's not even Alibaba. Alibaba is a little bit more risky, and I assume AliExpress can be risky, obviously, but I've just never heard of the slightest problem from AliExpress, and I've never had a problem myself. I've always used them. I've used Alibaba and AliExpress for things. You can get good deals on there sometimes. So I've never had an issue ever, but I will never use them again. I mean, if I had ordered something worth a lot more than $30, this really would have stung. And I do not know that I could have gotten a resolution. It being a Chinese company, and they just don't want to deal with me. And so that was kind of unfortunate. And the reason I made this video and the thumbnail like I did is because I don't want anyone else going through something like I did, especially for more money. If this had even been like $100 or $300 or who knows, maybe $1,000, I'll consider buying things on there easily for couple $1,000. They got some good deals on stuff. I considered getting an e-bike. I found a good deal on an e-bike there. $1,000 e-bike, pretty good. When I was back originally looking at scooters and e-bikes, there's a good deal on one. I can't find any anymore, but in any case, glad I didn't do that. I don't know for sure if I wouldn't have gotten it or whatever the case may be, but this is such a little problem just to say, no, we're not giving your money back. We're not going to give you the stuff. However, after I thought about it, and I was at the same time I was doing this, I was dealing with Michael Shaw on these brakes. So I'm literally going back and forth and trying to get AliExpress to send me my covers and having to ask Michael Shaw to help me out with the brakes. I decided to hit Michael Shaw back up and ask him. I had already paid for him for the brakes, but I was like, hey, can you throw a couple nut covers in there for me, because AliExpress, I paid for them. They're not going to give me my stuff. And he was super nice and said he's gonna. And I told him, he's like, how many did you order? I told him I ordered 4, and so he's gonna give me 4 nut covers to make up for what AliExpress did. So thank you very much, Mr. Michael Shaw. I appreciate that. And I know we had some issues early on. I really did, thought that was just an unfortunate circumstance. And looking back, I totally blame Fluid for that. And had I known all the issues at the time, probably would have made things a lot more clear. Instead, I was coming in as a new customer, trying to understand, a lot of this probably was stuff that Fluid on themselves were dropping the ball because they didn't have the motivation to make sure that they were watching every little thing and doing things the right way. So they were sending out stuff that they shouldn't have been sending out. Certainly they didn't care about sending out. They were just trying to rake in as much money as they can before they go under. So luckily I got the support that I did get, although I was only getting an answer once a day. I mean, it was really painful. I just didn't understand. I was like, why would someone do their business like this? And the reason why is because they're not going to do their business like that. They were getting out of business, and I didn't know. So I don't blame Michael Shaw for that at all. He's been nothing but helpful. And I certainly didn't want to make Nami look bad. Had I known these details at the time, I probably would approach that differently. And, but no one explained that to me either. Of course, Michael Shaw isn't going to go like, well, that's because they're going out of business, although he might have known that. He's got a relationship with them. They're still trying to dump their inventory. I get it. It's complicated situation, complex situation. But Michael Shaw's never been anything but supportive in that regard, and so I really don't blame Nami. I really don't have anything negative to say about Nami. But thanks for appreciate him, because now I'm not out $30, but it had nothing to do with AliExpress. So if Michael Shaw hadn't have had my back, I'd just be looking at nothing for my money. So luckily I didn't lose my money in a sense, but they're refusing to do that. So you potentially could lose your money. Michael Shaw was super awesome for just throwing those in there for me when I ordered the brakes. So really appreciate that. Now, let me get over to what's going on in the video, because it's interesting. So, what I was trying to do, not this. This was not my plan. There's some mud. There's mud everywhere right now, and so there's a place down. I'm trying to go over, and there's a big muddy spot. Last time I took my Klima through there, it got so muddy that I even went through a big puddle on the way home intentionally, so I could try to get some of that mud off of there because it was so packed on. So I didn't want to do that. There's a train coming right now, and I'm trying to get across the tracks. It's not like that close, but I can see it. And so I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is the reason I was trying to avoid this place on the sidewalk, and not to come up here. I was trying to find a way through under the aside from this that I could go and make it over to that street and head up this other street. But I couldn't remember exactly which roads to take, and I had done it before, but I did it from the opposite direction, and I had never tried to go reverse. And so that was my plan. I crossed over back there to go down these residential streets to find my way through. However, I ended up at a dead end, and instead of turning around or trying to go down that hill over there, I thought, this is where I'm trying to go. I'm trying to go over here, just across this little area of the bridge over here. And here goes the train. But so I'm over here, where I'm not supposed to be, and it's like, no trespassing, warning, danger, train tracks, all that stuff. And so I'm sitting over here trying to figure out maybe there's a way for me to squeeze through this gate somewhere and just get right. I just need to right over. Once I get right over there, I'm golden. But I can't find a way through, and there's literally nowhere. I could have jumped, or I didn't have the scooter. I could have hopped over somewhere, and I was considering taking my scooter and kind of tossing it over the fence. But right here, it's really tough. It's probably a 4-foot tall fence, and it's got those little things up there at the top, so it's not very friendly in that regard. Now there's a place down here where it's a tad. They don't have the top section, and it's flat, so it's not as bad. But it's on the other side of this gully, and so I just got no shot to get over. I can't go down there, and if I try to throw my scooter over there, I might just mess it up trying to chunk it over a 4-foot tall fence, and just that gap, I couldn't squeeze through. I probably could have lifted myself up easily if it was just me. I could have easily went over there and just lifted myself over that section of the fence with no problem. But I had the scooter, and I just didn't have a good way to do that. So after contemplating and looking around for a few spots and seeing if there was any options, and of course after the train passes by right here, I have to go back over the train tracks because there's no way out. As much as I wanted to believe that it was going to be some kind of way for me to get through there, they've got it locked down pretty good. And I'm not going to get on a bridge. There's nothing over there for me. It would be the same situation on the other side, and where I need to go is right there. So there's no point in me going over there. So I end up. It was kind of a pain walking these deep rocks. I couldn't ride my scooter on it. Trying to walk my scooter over, and then dealing with these railroad ties and everything. I just decide to fold my scooter down and carry it over over these next sections because it was just kind of a real pain for me to try to keep my footing and maneuver the scooter as well. I did on the way over, but it was just I just kind of was kind of over that, and I decided that I was going to what can I find any snakes today? I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not too worried about snakes or spiders and stuff, so it would have been kind of cool if I saw a snake. But the kind of snake or spider that you don't want to see is the one that you don't know is there. As long as you know they're there, you know you don't have to get in their way. They stay out of your way. Everybody's happy. So like I said, I folded up the scooter here. It's not the simplest thing getting it to lock in there. Yep, nope. One more time, and there we go. And then I can just pick it up and walk over. Much easier. You're still slipping a little bit, but once I'm not trying to wheel it and step over, it's much easier to navigate. In this section, I just decided, I'm just gonna kind of pull it along with me because these rocks are super loose, and every step I take is just kind of kind of on the. Oh, there's some nice little roadkill there. There was a skunk. I ran across 2 dead skunks today. The other one I didn't bring it up, but it's kind of disgusting out there when I was turning off of the bike lane to go back behind those buildings there. And when I did that, it kind of there was also a skunk right there. I thought I was gonna luckily I've been kind of lucky. I've pissed lately up until this particular trip. I had passed up some dead skunks on the side or something, and they didn't smell. There was no oh, that's not good. There was no negative smell. So like I said, most of the time, or a lot of times they'll have it's almost like you got sprayed by the skunk or whatever. So So I'll get that unfolded again, and I'm gonna head down this hill because that's the best option that I have at this point. The good news is I did pass up the muddy section on the sidewalk, so mission accomplished. Although it was much more complicated than I had anticipated. But yeah. Like I said, just happy to get those things from Michael Shaw when he sends those. Hopefully the brakes are the ones that have the adapter. If not, that's going to be another challenge that I have to get the adapter that'll work. But I'll find out from Michael Shaw what that is. And meanwhile, I still have to go, and it's I don't mind riding it. It's it seems to be reliable so far. I did get a chance to, and this is another kind of messed up thing, but I did get a chance to ride the Phantom the other day. My buddy who's got the Phantom, we went riding the other day, and he let me ride his Apollo Phantom around. I've ridden already now his Apollo City Pro. It's a 2023, and then he's got Apollo Phantom V4, which I got to ride the other day, and he's also let me ride his Segway Max G3, which I've given you guys kind of some of my feedback on those. And so now the other times he asked me not to bring my camera. This time I brought my camera. Unfortunately, it didn't record. So I was supposed to have a little bit of footage, and we're finally back on our way. I was supposed to have a little bit of footage from the Phantom to show you guys, but it cut out. And just no good. So I didn't get any footage, but I did test it out, and my impressions of the Phantom, not a bad scooter. It's smaller than I would have expected. I thought it would be a lot beefier. To be honest, it wasn't bad. It still seemed like, for what it is, it goes has a pretty decent little pickup to it. It's not crazy, nothing like the Klima, but it is a nice little scooter. For that, the biggest drawback to me was which is interesting, but it's the stem. You know, the stem, unlike the City Go, the City Go had like a clicky, clunky feel. It's a pretty sweet little 75 Buick LeSabre convertible, I think it is. But actually get a little bit of footage. I see them over there. I turn my camera on real quick, and then I'm gonna ride over there by them. I don't usually go out right there, but I want to get a better look at this car. I did tell them nice car, and then like I said, I kind of wanted to get some footage of it. I thought it was kind of cool, so I decided to just take my scooter over there while I have my camera on. So a pretty cool little Charger there. But yeah, I thought that was pretty sweet. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you guys. So the Palo Phantom, the stem was very flexible. I mean, really flexible. It didn't. There was no clunkiness like there was in the City Pro. It wasn't clunky, so it didn't bother me as much, and I probably would get used to it. But it's so flexible. It's almost, you know, it feels like it almost bends, and but it's very springy in a sense, and it takes a little getting used to. And you get moving pretty fast on it, you know, and you got like a lot of flex. You know, it's not play. The stem's not, you know, moving around. Like, it's not clunky like the Go, but there's a lot of flexibility to the stem, and you know, some might think it's the suspension, but you know, I've got some flexibility in my stem on the Klima. Nothing like that, and the suspension on the Klima is very nice, but this is the stem itself, you know, and there's just a lot of flex in the stem. I mean, the funny thing is I'm on the Go at the time because my brakes are messed up on the Klima, so I'm on the Go, and the Go is so beefy and so sturdy compared. I mean, maybe it's the way it's designed, or I'm not sure why they go different ways for faster scooters or bigger scooters or whatever. But why they go away from like the beefier stems when you get on the bigger scooters, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's the vibrations going at higher speeds. I'm not really sure why they do that, but it certainly seems that way. Certainly with Apollo, you get up to the Phantom versus the Go, and the Phantoms, you got this really flimsy stem. Like I said, it's not the worst. You can get used to it. I rode around quite a few little laps with it, and I didn't mind it so much. But it was interesting. Guys, if you enjoyed this content and you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Consider joining me on Patreon, picking up some merch, or buying me a coffee. Thanks, and happy riding.
He's got wheels and a dream on the fly. Zooms past the world, electric and spry. Through the city he weaves like a bird in the sky. The legend of the electric scooter guy. No gas, no fumes, just a hum in the air. A helmet on crooked, like he doesn't care. With a backpack full of snacks and a gleam in his eye. He's the hero we need, the electric scooter guy. Oh, scooter guy, you're flying so high, dodging the traffic as you glide by. Street lights flicker as you electrify. You're the one and only electric scooter guy. Potholes can't stop him, he jumps with flair. Wind in his face, like he just doesn't care.